Okay, continue where I left based on the previous parts of the same chapter. Diversity amongst employees or among members have a pro and cons. It could lead to creative ideas, and the cons or the disadvantage of having diverse members from diverse background or culture could lead to conflicts, and conflicts normally is very disruptive to the groups, to the performance of the employees or organizations if not managed. Uh, Next slide is about conflicts and cooperations. Communication can be a source of conflicts, especially when there are some misunderstandings due to the inability to communicate. That means if you do not know how to communicate well, do not know how to put words into a diplomatic way of communicating your ideas, it could lead to misunderstandings. Also, when communications barrier exists, when there are so many barriers in communications, when also receivers have poor listening skills, and also in terms of language and cultural differences can actually uh, can actually lead to conflicts to arise. So group things relates to norms. Is relate to the norms of the groups. Situation in which group pressures can force conformity, which deters the group from critically appraise unusual or minority or unpopular views. So because of the norms, because of the group norms, members are pressured to conform to the groups. So some of the minorities of the members have some unpopular views regarding certain things because they want to conform to the group pressure. So these minority views, maybe the unpopular views regarding the things that they talks about, uh, they try to repress these unpopular views. So because they want to confirm, to they have pressure to confirm, so they try to reduce or suppress any disagreements within the group. So that's why it says group thing, because the tendency for the groups to pressure the members to conform with the groups, which can deter the groups from critically evaluate each of the unpopular views or disagreements among the members. So signs of the group things, whether to know whether the groups have this group thing or not. So is be based whether the groups rationalize any resistance to the assumption they have made. So let's say the group rationalize any of the resistance coming from the members of the groups, then it's considered the group thing exists in the groups. So if the group apply direct pressure on those who express doubts, let's say there are some members in the groups may voice their doubts about some of the issue, and the groups apply direct pressure to those who are disagree. So if there is exists something like this, is indicate that the group thing exists in the group. And the next point is those who have doubt or different views from the group keep quiet. So because they want to confirm, pressure from the groups to confirm the members to the groups. So the minority normally, or several members, maybe a few members have to keep quiet, even though they have some doubts or different views, because they do not want to be considered as a different. They want to be part of the group. They want to be called as a members of the group. So they just keep quiet if they have any different ideas or have doubt regarding the what's the groups agree upon. And illusions of unanimity exist. Illusions of unanimity is referring to the disagreements or kind of consensus among the members. If illusions of unanimity exist, if even though if don't speaks yes or no, is actually considered groupthink exists. Group acts as if they are invulnerable or they ignore other influences. So group act as it's as if here is not it as if they are invulnerable or ignore other influences. So if they act like they are not vulnerable or they ignore other influences, this consider that's the group experience group things. So organizational culture is another topics under chapter 9. Organizational culture is referring to an interdependent set of belief, values, behavioral tendency, and tools that become so common to the organizations that they maintain themselves over a long period of time. So organizational culture refer to the interdependence of belief, values, behavioral tendency, and tools that they use for a long times. So these include both observable and unobservable characteristics of their organizations. So we can check the organizational culture based on the observable factor or characteristics such as the dress code, the jargons that they use in the organization. So this actually can show whether the organizational culture is strong or not. And the unobservable in terms of the shared values, norm, and belief, if they are strong among the members, that means the organizational culture are strong, very strong among the members. Okay, we move to organizational change. Kurt Lewin's introduced three-stage model that explain the main stages in the change process. So Kurt Lewin come with the three stages model where the stage start with the unfreezing. So in order to change, it is important to have to acknowledge that you need to change, you need to aware the problems, and then you have to change. In order to change, you have to accept the problem. You have to unfreeze your status quo, your comfortable zone. You have to come out from your comfortable zone. If you are comfortable with your zones, that means you do not want to change. If you want to change, you have to come out from your comfort zones and try to do something new, or try to change yourself. So you move from your comfort zone into the new area. So this when it's what we call unfreezing. So unfreezing, so use the example of ice cube. If you want to change the shape of the ice cube, you have to unfreeze the ice cube to become liquids. So unfreezing is the first stage where individual realize they need to change. So they need to unfreeze their status quo or their current states. So unfreeze means they have to move. If we want to exemplify with the ice cube, that means this ice cube need to be unfreeze so that they become liquid, so that we can change the into different shape. So into second stage is movement when the change is happens. So when the change is happens, so when we want to use ice cube as an example, so when the ice cubes become liquidated, or when ice cube become liquids, so we can change the shape of the ice cube. If you want to change into square or into triangle, you can change ice cube when they are in the liquid form. So liquid form is the movement where the change take place. Normally the strategy develops in order to ensure that change can take place and could be implemented. So this stage is where the actual change take place, move from unfreezing into a new stage. So movement is where the change take place, whether you want to change yourself or not. Here is the change, actually the actual change take place. So the third stage, final stage, in order to ensure that the change that you made in the second stage become permanent, that means it's not go back to the original, to the previous stage. So to the previous stage before the change happens, you have to refreeze the change. So if we want to use the ice cube example, so after we liquidated the ice cube, after we changed the ice cube from frozen into melting ice, or melting or into liquids, we need to make the changes become permanent. We have to refreeze, make it the change become permanent. So new level of performance are reinforced until they become habitual. This is what it says. In order to make sure that the change become habitual, to ensure that this change is permanent or long lasting, is not just temporary, it need to be refreezed. So the third stage is refreezing. So if we want to see from these diagrams, unfreezing is the first stage, where employees realize they have to change, so they move from their comfort zone into their new area where they want to change. So here the actual change take place. When the actual change take place, they have to make sure this changing is taking place, and the change is actually permanent. So in order to ensure the change is become habitual or become permanent, this change need to be refreezed. So if you want to use ice cubes example, so the liquids, the ice cube that become liquid need to be put in the freezer so that it can be refreeze. So that's the 11 three-stage models of organizational developments. Okay, that's it for chapter 9.